No one in Utah County gets to complain about a 2.9% interest rate, but I'm going to do it for you. I'm Tammy Goolsby with Coldwell Banker, and I've been in real estate for over 23 years. I've done $300 million in real estate, and I'm a top 1% producer in the nation. Maybe you can relate to this situation. Since you purchased your home back in 2022, you've gained 2 more children, you've added a teenage driver to the situation, and you're bursting at the seams. Your garage has become a storage unit, and it's discouraging. You really need to scale up your home, buy something that fits better for your family. But unfortunately, that 2.9% interest rate is really hard to give up. It feels like the golden handcuffs, because if I sell my home, it's going to be not only a larger home, but also a larger payment. And a lot of that's going to go to interest. And I can stay here where I'm at and only give up 2.9% interest. It feels like it's almost free. And yet, this home's really not accommodating my family at this time. Well, I think people are always hesitant to complain about a 2.9% interest rate. In fact, people brag about a 2.9% interest rate. So, do they complain to me? I don't know this is a complaint more than an explanation why they're living below their capabilities.
Describe how you think a lot of Utah County homeowners are experiencing real estate right now. How are they seeing it? What is the real estate market like for them?
Okay, this is a great question, because I think a lot of people are sitting on the fence, afraid to purchase now because the rates are higher, because home prices really haven't dipped as much as we would expect them to with the lack of sales throughout the county. But people are still moving. They're making transitions, and that's keeping the sales price high. And with the lack of control that we as consumers have with the rate, it's going to continue to make us struggle. So I think as a whole, Utah County consumers and home buyers and sellers are just in a pickle with what to do. They're not sure whether it's time to move forward. Is right now the best time to buy? In my personal opinion, I would not shy away from buying a home right now. I just bought a new home a few months ago because I love the home and because I wanted that quality of life. Is my interest rate higher than I'd want? Absolutely it is, but I know that it's going to soften, and I'm doing everything I can to pay my home off and put myself in a better position. Is that reasonable for everyone? It's not, but there's definitely positions we can find, there's rocks we can turn, and we can find situations where there's builder financiers at lower rates, and we can also find situations where builders are giving tremendous incentives that might even help with your down payment and closing costs. Buy your rate down a little bit. You don't have to be stuck in a home that doesn't suit your family.
A lot of people are waiting for rates to come down before they move. For Provo or Lehi, what would rates actually have to hit for the median household to afford the median home? How does that compare to where we're at now?
Okay, so in order for the median household to afford to be a homeowner right now, the stats say it needs to be 2.9%. And in reality, in the history since we've been recording mortgage rates, I want to say it might be 1978, we've been recording them that long. In the entire history of that time, the only time we've seen mortgage rates hit 2.9% was right around 2021. So keeping that in mind, if you're waiting for mortgage rates to hit 2.99%, it might not happen in your lifetime. I mean, that's the reality of what we're going through. Absolutely not. Waiting for rates is not going to help us in any way. Yes, we would all love to see some relief in the interest rates. Absolutely. But your best strategy is going to be to get some seller concessions, without a doubt. Get your seller to buy those rates down for you. You're not going to just stumble on to a great rate by calling more and more lenders. Talk to your realtor, get a trusted lender that is reputable in the industry, and you're absolutely going to be best off if you ask for some concessions. So what might those concessions be? Help with the down payment, help with closing cost, help with buying the rate down, help with repairs, help with upgrading the home. Those are some of the tools that you can use right now.
Explain what a seller concession is to somebody who's never heard of the term, and tell me how common they actually were in Utah County last month.
In Utah County last month, we saw 66% of sales give seller concessions. So they are very common, and with a skilled realtor on your side, you can absolutely get seller concessions in this market. They can be helping you buy down your rate and make your home more affordable.
Which cities in the county had the highest concession rates?
So there are several cities in our county that are giving higher seller concessions than other cities within the county. And Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs, without a doubt, are giving the most seller concessions. So if that's what you're looking for, keep your eyes on those areas. But Lehi also is giving seller concessions. But if you get higher up into Lehi and towards the bench, it's going to be really, really a tough situation to try to get a seller concession out of that. So we're seeing those upgrading buyers, first-time home buyers, and expansive buyers are the ones that are getting the seller concessions.
When someone tells you they can't afford to move, what number are they almost always running and what number are they never running?
Okay, when someone tells me they can't afford to move, the number they're looking at usually is at 6.5%. What's my house payment going to be? And that's what they're comparing, but they're forgetting that they've got equity locked up in their home that they can utilize. There's probably additional ways that you can access cash to improve your down payment, to bring down your mortgage payment and the overall equity that you're going to have in your home. You can help increase it. Sometimes that's your retirement funds and accounts. I hate to see people liquidate those, but they are available to people. And a lot of times the seller concessions, again, are key to make sure they lock in that. And they're not always substantial, but they definitely can put you in a better interest rate situation so that you're not calculating a number that might not be reality for you.
A lot of families finish a basement or add a bunk room instead of moving. What does that actually solve and what does it not solve?
Okay, I really am intrigued by the concept of finishing the basement or adding a bunk room to expand the home. So if you got that availability, it is an option. And it does solve your problem as far as space. You get extra bedrooms, it gives you more space in the home. This is the problem it doesn't solve, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that if my main level living space is valued at $100 a square foot, my basement living space is going to be valued at $55 a square foot. So when I'm spending the money to finish my basement, and maybe it's costing me 90 bucks a square foot, remember that when I sell that home, I'm only going to get 55 cents a square foot on the dollar. And I definitely don't want you to be disappointed. If it works for your family and it's the right thing to do, finish the basement if you're planning to stay there long term. But don't expect it to give you the equity that main level living is going to give you.
Can somebody in Utah look up what their neighbor's house sold for? What surprises people most about that?
Utah is a closed disclosure state. So if my neighbor sells next door and I'm just a normal buyer and seller, a standard consumer, I cannot go look up what that home sold for. So how do we solve that problem? We get a realtor. We get a realtor that understands the market and has access to the records. In fact, you can't even go down to the county and find out what the home sold for because we do not have to disclose that information to the county. And we're looking at 95% of sales, it's not on the county records.
If a house records at $510,000, but the seller credited $10,000 back at closing, what does an automated valuation tool see and what does it miss?
Okay, let's go into some detail with that. If the house sells at $510,000, but $10,000 in seller concessions were given, so what it actually is going to record at is $510,000, but we're a non-disclosure state, so no one's going to know that. So it's super important that you have a skilled realtor that can go in to the MLS listing and look at exactly how things were recorded, because when we run comps, we're running comps at sales price. But as we dig a little deeper, we can see that, oh look, there was a seller concession given. And a lot of times that's not disclosed, but if you've got somebody really good, they're going to reach out to the selling agent and find out exactly what happened and what's going on. And as realtors, we like to help each other. At least those who have been in business for a long time are going to help each other. We're going to look into exactly what that home sold for so that we can get you the best competitive market value for your home, or at least get you a realistic sales price. Setting expectations is what it's all about.
People read that the county median is around 50 days on the market. Why is that number close to meaningless for their specific house?
So if you look at the stats, it's going to say the county median's about 50 days on market, but that can be absolutely meaningless for your home. Because if you're in Lehi, we're having homes sell in 14 days and at asking price or above. So if you're in Saratoga Springs, you might be on the market for 300 days and be giving tremendous seller concessions, $30,000 in price reductions. So you really got to have a hyper-local realtor search exactly what you need and help you along the way.
Everybody says nothing is selling. What does the data actually say about how fast well-priced homes are moving in Utah County?
Okay, so you're hearing out there the complaints that nothing in Utah County is selling, homes aren't moving, and in reality, we're somewhere between 45 to 60 days to get the homes to move. And you got to take into consideration that also includes homes that are new build homes that are put on the market far before they're even finished. So that's going to skew the data tremendously because they might have poured the foundation and they're putting pictures of the finished product online. And reality is it's not going to be done for 6 months. So we got to average those days into the stats and realize, wait a minute, what about the home that's selling in 14 days? What about the home that's selling in 5 days that's priced right, ready to move, and has multiple offers? It's not 2022. It is 2026, and people are selling homes. People still have to move. People have job relocations. People have family situations where they need to be closer to parents, and people are ready to retire and move to their 55 plus communities and give up that home with only a master bedroom on the second story.
Tell me about the worst outcome you've seen from a seller who listed high and decided to wait it out.
Oh, so one of the worst outcomes I've seen from a seller who listed high and thought, I'm just going to wait till the price comes up, when they decided that after their home was on the market for 450 days, they decided to do a massive price reduction, over $400,000. So that goes into our stats. It skews everything. And let me give you an example of how that affects you. First of all, when you overprice your home, it wears you down. Every week your home is on the market, it feels like a month. And you're going to be calling me wondering what's happened. And so when we overprice the home, I like to say it's the kiss of death because it absolutely puts you in a situation where you're making price reduction after price reduction after price reduction. And the buyers that are interested in your home, well, they're just waiting to see how low you're going to go. And in the meantime, if you'd have sold that home on day one and priced it $300,000 less, you'd probably sold it right away. But by making it sit on the market for 450 days, you're going to lose $400,000.
The biggest fear I hear is selling and then being stuck with nowhere to live. Walk me through how buying and selling in the same window actually works.
So a lot of people fear selling their home because they're worried I'm going to be homeless and not have a place to live. What if I don't find the right home and I need to be contingent, which makes your purchasing power really dip? And so what are we going to do with that? There's several options. The first option I want you to do is I want you to check with a lender because some people don't realize all the lending options out there. We've got bridge loans, we've got wraparound loans, and those are all loans that allow you to purchase before you sell. So that just eliminates our homeless situation. However, a lot of times people they don't like the option. It's not the option for them, and that's okay. So what we do is we get your home on the market, we get it absolutely ready to go, and we might even have a buyer interested in it. But before then, we're gonna know exactly what you can afford and what price range you should be looking in. And then what are the stats? How many homes are on the market in that price range? And exactly what areas are they at? We're gonna be watching those homes. So as soon as you're ready and your home's in contract, we're gonna jump on it. And again, it still makes your offer contingent, but when your home is already in escrow and has a buyer, and especially if they have all their contingencies removed, you still got some pretty powerful buying opportunities at that point.
A third of Utahns say they'd consider leaving the state over housing costs. For a family in that headspace, what's still available inside Utah County that they may not have looked at?
A third of Utahns have threatened to leave the state because of the price of housing and to find better housing opportunities. And so for the people in that headspace, I highly recommend that you start looking at what options are out there. I have a niece in this particular situation and she tells me, I'm not looking at all in Utah, homes are just too expensive. But there are options out there if you want to stay. The brand new home on the hill that's absolutely gorgeous and shiny, that might not be your option right now. But I think you're better off to buy something that you've got to do a little bit of remodeling to, give it a little sweat equity, or look at some of those lower end new homes. so that you can just get in, get started, and start building equity in your home so that your next time around, you can purchase the home of your dreams or what you really want. And when we say home of your dreams, we need to keep that in perspective. If our first-time home buyer right now on average is 40 years old, home of your dreams hits at about 60. So I think it's super important for people to not think, I'm 30 years old, I want the 5,500 square foot home. I think we just need to put things into perspective and realize the sooner we enter the market, our home starts acquiring equity, and it puts us to have greater purchasing power on the next home. And the dream home might be 5 homes away. But if you just sit back and let the world happen around you, that dream home isn't going to be in existence, not ever. If somebody reaches out to me and the truth is they're in a better situation to stay right where they're at, I'm going to tell them that. But what we're going to do is we're going to work out a plan for what we need to do to get them in a better situation. And a lot of times that plan might include doing upgrades to their home that makes sense. Please do not do upgrades without consulting someone, because we need to find out if we're actually going to be able to get a return for the upgrade that you did. So that might be cleaning their home or doing yard work, putting it in a way that they're going to get greater value for the home that they're in. And then a financial plan that's going to get them set up for the next purchase. And I also like to go around and just look at where they're at in their home, look at what their buying capability is, and then just absolutely scan our area for builder incentives, because sometimes that can be a game changer for those that on the surface it looks like they should just stay where they're at because that's the best financial decision. But if that's the best financial decision for you, we're just going to come up with a game plan so that we have a goal for when that can change.